Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Meet Me in Napa. I'm your host, Jeremy Jackson. Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm so excited. This is a big deal for the podcast and a big deal for the state of California. We have Mr. Eric Jones. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great. Good. Thank you first of all, for coming on. And for those who don't know who he is, he's actually running for the seat for the 4th district, correct? For Congress, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So currently, who holds that seat?
That's Congressman Thompson.
Congressman Mike Thompson. So for you people who are into politics and follow these things, you know who Mike Thompson is, and he's running for the seat. So I brought him on today. He was willing enough to come on just to talk to the people. And, you know, for me, being new to the Napa Valley, but also, you know, you kind of get to that age where you start engaged in politics more, right? And so I just thought it would be good for the people to come on and hear and see who you are. Right. Not without all the, you know, the big corporation games that are played, just the raw, who is Eric. Right. And so thank you, like I said, once again, for coming on. We got a glass of wine here. You care to cheers up to a great interview? All right. Cheers.
Jerry,
all right.
Cheers. No, every conversation start that way.
Some good Napa cab, you know, 2021. So, Eric, the floor is yours. Tell us, who are you? Who's Eric?
Well, I want to call you out first because I have a sense of how old you are, and you said you're just now getting into politics.
Not
so I just want to say, for all the young people out there, start young, vote early, vote often.
When I said that, not that I just now,
I'm kidding,
but I think it starts to become even more important.
Yes.
When I was younger, I
Totally.
kind of voted, and then I just went on about my life. Now I'm looking at not just from the presidential elections, but I'm also concerned more about local elections.
Yep.
And so I think when I was younger, I didn't understand how powerful local elections were.
Yep.
It was just, I was only on a national scale.
And particularly in California, local elections really matter.
Yeah. And local elections, yes, they do matter everywhere. And especially in California. So that, I think, to clarify, that's the part that I was
I just gave you a hard time. But thank you, by the way. This is, I haven't done much of this, so excuse the mistakes. This is fun. And if I can do more of just talking to people as much as I can, I mean, I hope that's a lot of the job.
Yeah.
So Eric Jones, I'm running for Congress here in California's 4th Congressional District. I live in Napa. I moved here right after my son was born. My wife and I were figuring out, you know, where do we want to be? Where do we want to raise kids? And we actually living up in northern Sonoma. And I'm from a little town, but she's from Maine. She's from New York City. So
nothing little about that.
There is nothing little about New York City. And Napa felt like this fun intersection of New York, like the intellectualism, the food, the talent of the people, and then the way I grew up, which is just mostly trees and ag, right? And you could but also like safety for kids could just kind of be around and ride their bikes, and also community. And I think, again, I don't think there are that many places in the world that can fit that so well into such a small place.
My wife says a metropolitan city met a country town and had a baby.
Yeah,
that's what she calls Napa. Yeah,
that's honestly that's like that is exactly it. And so you know, I like to tell folks, like I'm very lucky that I feel like I've seen both sides of America. Like I grew up and, you know, my family relied on government assistance, and, you know, we were on food stamps, Medicaid, and I'm very, very lucky that I had enough support in my life to, you know, go to college and get a full scholarship, and then kind of figure out, there was a bit of, we'll get to the story, but there was some, I kind of got a few punctuating moments in my life that really changed things. But I was able to move to California when I was 22 and build a business. And I did mostly in healthcare, built a bunch of healthcare companies I'm very proud of, and created a ton of jobs here. And it's sort of a life that I never thought I'd live. I always thought I'd do something either in the military or in government. And I'm now just very grateful. And I have 2 young kids. My wife's amazing. I feel just blessed to be here in this place and to be able to do what I'm doing. And we can get into more of kind of why, but that's a very quick overview who I am. Dad, husband, you know, all the things.
And where were you born and raised? Where were you raised?
I was born in southern Maine, in a tiny town that was described. If you go online, it's described as having 100 homes. So it's not. I don't even know if it shows up on a map.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, and when did you get to California?
I met. I was living in New York after graduation. I met my business partner, and he convinced me to do this kind of wacky thing, move across the country. And, kind of classic, first meet stories. We're going to do this and this and this, and it's going to be great. And he definitely sold me on a dream. And I, lapped it up. And that night, I met my wife, my future wife, Rachel. And I was like, hey, yeah.
At the same meeting?
The same day. Okay. So the same day I made the call to move.
Okay.
I then met my wife, and she's a New Yorker, as I mentioned. And I'm telling her, hey, I'm going to move to California. And she goes, well, do you like it there? Like, what do you mean? It's California. She's like, no, but have you been? I was like, no, I've never been. And she was baffled that sight unseen, I would just pick up shop and kind of move across the country. And I was like, but it's California. How bad can it be? And to be clear, and I had to convince her, right? I had to convince her to come out and follow me. But that's what brought me out here. And that's been my entire adult life, has been building this company, being in California. We got out of the city in 2019 and moved to Sonoma, and then made our way over here.
I need to meet her.
Yeah, well, you will.
The day you met her was the day you found out you were coming to California.
Yeah.
And then you told her this.
Yeah.
And did you come first and she came later, or?
She always comes first. But she made a hard sell to me to stay in New York. Again, there was a lot of it was a combination of threats and fear, right? Like, oh, have you been there before? That's, that place is kind of weird. And New Yorkers couldn't fathom that someone would move to New York and then choose to leave. It's like, whoa. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then 6 months later, she moved out and went back to school at Cal. So she's fully, and her family's from here.
How many times did you cry on the phone to ask her to come?
Oh, dude, so many times. No,
I already know how that story went.
It was, and then the good thing is when you do a little bit of long distance and then you get in one place, you're so jazzed. No, I probably shouldn't. You're so we were immediately, we knew we were gonna get married from basically day one. Mm-hmm. But then once she moved out here, we were on a roll. And her family's also from here. Her grandma brought her horse to Davis back when you could do that, which I still find this crazy story that you could bring your horse to college.
Yeah.
So she went to Davis, and her family has all these stories of kind of growing up around here. So it feels like a nice kind of we're back, I guess. Otherwise put. Yeah.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So you say you were in business, help build, healthcare companies. When you say, are you in healthcare? How did you build these companies? What were you doing?
Yeah. So we did a whole variety of stuff, and it was a lot in healthcare, some in technology, some in what they call ed tech, education technology. I did a lot of work in Latin America as well, focused on financial inclusion. In healthcare specifically, we would invest in some companies, but a lot of what I like to do is also find either great idea, come up with an idea, find good entrepreneurs and operators and put capital behind them, give them money to kind of build the thing. Mm-hmm. And then you either work with them on it or you sit on a board and you help them create the business. So to be clear, we were either, new ideas or finding businesses that had 10 or 20 employees and seeing if we could help them get to 100 or 1,000 employees, right? And beyond. And that was really our business model is investing behind businesses that we want to see grow. We're actually building alongside entrepreneurs to make their businesses bigger.
So taking small business and making them bigger, correct?
Yeah, that is, yeah. And some businesses stay small, and that's cool too.
Yeah. Well, I was going to kind of touch on that because, one thing about Napa is we're full of small businesses.
Yeah.
Totally. Everywhere you go. I mean, I work at one. I literally feed my family through a small business at the barbershop, right? And so as seeing that, not every business that you have is going to be some major scalable thing where, investors and stock market and all that, people get rich, right? People just want to go to work and they want to provide for their families. So, in what way do you see that you would help support small businesses if you were to win the seat?
Yeah. Great question. And I want to double down on what you just said before answering it, which is America is uniquely dependent on small businesses. We are a small business country. Half of Americans are employed or run a small business, right? So it is our lifeblood, and it's a lifeblood of so many communities. Mm-hmm. And for me, I would say the biggest thing is first just recognition that in California specifically, starting or having a small business is really hard. And the odds are pretty stacked against you. So one, I believe we need to cut taxes for small businesses. It's something that I've been saying publicly that, if you're a sole proprietor or you're a partnership or you're starting up a shop or you're starting a business, like we should lower your tax burden as much as possible. Like we need to focus on creation. And that's one of my core policies. Second is I think that regulation when is usually with good intention, but when implemented, often ends up biasing against small businesses in favor of large corporations. And my, one of my political beliefs that I've now observed that it keeps getting reinforced the more I see how things work, is that corporations are in too much control of our politics. And when they have control, they, seek to benefit themselves. And that comes at the expense of consumers. It comes at the expense of real people. It also comes at the expense of other small business. So if you believe in competition, you should be fighting for the little guy. Like to me, that's how all our politicians should think first. So you can do that with like lower tax burden. You can do that with more streamlined regulation. I think below a certain size, you should have very limited regulation. It doesn't mean you don't follow the rules, but it's almost like we assume you're going to do the right thing and operate the right way, and we'll come in and check later. But we're not going to make you wait in line for a dozen permits that every 6 months you have to renew, and it becomes this totally arduous process that's confusing and again really biases towards the big guy, not the little guy.
Yeah. As you were talking, one thing I thought about was that it used to feel like or seem like historically like the Democratic Party was for the little guy. And I know the frustrations that a lot of just whether you have a business or not, or you're just a get up and I go to work to provide for my family, people, the community, people feel strangled by the bureaucracy sometimes in that case. So like, what are your thoughts about that? And what would you try to bring to help? Like, I know you said the whole, like loosening the regulation. That's a very great one, but like it kind of, that promise has been made before.
Yeah.
So like how hard do you believe that you would fight for that?
Yeah. And I want to hit both parts of your question. To the second part, the reason why we don't have regulatory reform is because large corporations, through lobbying, control our politicians and prohibit or prevent regulatory reform on behalf of small businesses. So I actually think that though the promises have been made, it's never actually been tried, because the incentive structure right there is that, hey, like I want to, my large corporate benefactors drive the ship. And we have to start by having independent politicians who don't go into office with a corporate benefactor at their back, or don't become politicians where all of their campaigns are funded through corporate donations. Like, I don't think our founding fathers ever envisioned a world in which you'd have it's like a race car, like NASCAR, right? Where like they run for office and they're just like they've got logos across the car, like painted across the car, like PG&E, like like United Healthcare, like it's like we're not rooting for them, man. Like I want you to help us. So to me, again, I would say it's like the system hasn't really been. I don't think people have really tried. Is what I'd say.
I mean, literally, the country was started because there was a battle over taxes, right?
There you go.
that
should be a lesson.
That sparked the revolution. So I just have a couple of questions here that I just want to ask before, as we're going. So, we opened up, we talked about who you were, but what do you think your wife would say you are off camera, off the campaign trail, at home, at the dinner table with the kids? What do you think your wife would say? I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. So
this is more important than winning the campaign.
So I'm lucky that I have like my wife and I, our two closest friends on each side, are both married to each other. So but there's a story here, which is one of those friends met my wife right after we moved to San Francisco.
Okay.
And then I met her, and she texted my wife Rachel and was like, our husbands have to hang out. They're both such nerds. And I would say, and I say that only because that's what my wife would say. Like I've always loved reading books, and I read not just like, I read everything, but I read a lot of like fantasy, like epic fantasy stuff.
Okay.
Just to like get your brain away from, and exercise your creativity.
Did you see Tron?
I love Tron.
I just saw it last night.
Okay. I haven't seen
one,
I haven't seen New Tron.
Yeah.
Well, now you're getting me excited.
Yeah. I love that movie.
But I love board games. Like I love building models. So that's like the nerd part. And then I do the more like bro-y things as well. Like I'm always trying to learn a sport. I played like every sport growing up. And I think similar to how you want to exercise your brain, like learning a new thing physically is actually really like, it's intellectually stimulating beyond just like the learning of it. And my people always ask, do you cook? And I'm like, yeah, it's a hard question. I use implements. So I'm good with like a smoker or a grill or like a sous vide thing or I can make pancakes, but the oven is this like terrifying thing to me.
You're not gonna bake a cake.
Yeah, when you go in the oven, things go wrong. You can stay on the top of the oven or on the grill, things go fine.
Okay. So another question here. It says, you built a career with your company and your finance and helping companies build and grow. Why public service and why now?
So I'll try to be brief, not a strength of mine. I grew up, I mentioned, my dad's a disabled veteran and spent most of my childhood in a hospital, went through 5 back surgeries when I was a kid, or in this chair. And he ate his meals in that chair. That was it was this dominating feature of our living room. And we had a tiny house of 800 square feet. So, kind of the size of half of the studio. And he watched TV. It's like History Channel, war movies, just blaring. To the right of that TV was this glass cabinet and just like layers of war medals from men in my family. And men in my family had always enlisted. So my brother enlisted at 19 and I didn't. I had teachers who told me I was smart and good at school. So I took that path and that was my path out. But that feeling never leaves you. Like the sense of like pride in your country, the sense of commitment and duty. And on top of that, my mom later in life became a nurse. And she believes that God put her on this planet to take care of people. That's what she believes. And these like dual role models of like this cabinet and my mom, like the kernel kind of never left. And even in college, like I wanted to work in the State Department. I studied a bunch of languages. And then when my dad got really sick my junior year, it was this epiphany. I was like, damn, I need to help my family and make money. And that led me down a different path. And honestly, that path wasn't interrupted until 2021 when we had my son. And that just again, it was like this jarring reset of what was important in life. And that's when I started reinvesting into, I guess, my original passion. And I didn't know where that would lead, but we started our family foundation that is doing a bunch of great work here in kind of Napa and Sonoma counties. I started a nonprofit called the American Dream Institute, which we can get into that later, but we do a lot of research, we do polling, and we've worked with a bunch of different Democratic kind of groups, and that sort of got me into the Democratic Party ecosystem. And then people started asking me to run, and then a few senior leaders asked me to run for office, and it wasn't until Trump was elected the second time and then got into office and just started viscerally attacking the social safety net in a way that felt almost personal. And it felt like he was taking away the things that my family needed to survive. And I knew that if we didn't have those programs, I could not be who I am today. And it's not that I tell this to people, like no one wants to be on welfare. What they want is like the help and a ladder and a way to get out. And that ladder is being pulled up. And I see it in schools. I see it with our healthcare system. And it almost became personal. Like my mom would call me and talk about these stories when when I was a kid, and she was feeling so ashamed. And Trump was making her feel that way because he was talking about these things and the whole rhetoric suddenly became like, oh, these people don't deserve our help. Like they're stealing from the system. And that, I just never thought I'd be reliving that in this way. And that was the final step towards realizing I had to do something.
Okay. So, California 4th District, it's complex. It has wealthy, it has vineyards, has privilege on one side, and then you have a real working class struggle on the other side. How do you plan to bridge those two realities without losing touch with either?
Yeah, this is where I'm grateful for the life I've lived, because I've seen both sides. Like I've seen America when it works, and I've seen what the good that can come from business and business creation. And actually, I think that really describes these counties and Napa and our district. Like you kind of got all parts of America. You have the immigrant story. You've got the American dream story. You got people who just believe in putting in a good, hard day's work and like the dignity that comes with that and what our country should promise you because of that. And then you've got people who come here to take risk and to build something and to create something. And then they connect often like, in a bottle, so to speak, right? They kind of connect in all these cool ways. And it's not just wine, it's also food and all sorts of different industry throughout these counties. And that to me actually, like it feels like me in a way. And then I think it actually maps to America really well. Like it maps to kind of this American dream, this American story. It's just a microcosm of it.
Yeah.
And I think, and it creates a really interesting community because it speaks to all sides.
Okay. You pledge not to take corporate PAC money. It's a big statement there. So what kind of pressure does that create for your campaign that's running on authenticity over influence? And I would also add, how do you plan on, and if you do, how do you plan on continuing that as you go up the ranks? Because it's harder to get the national stage without that type of thing. So, and I don't want to demonize that, but that's something that you're running on. So
no, it may be like it may be the most important thing because we all want our lawmakers, fighting for the people who put them there. And if the reason you're there is not your constituents, but it's because the corporations are funding your campaigns, then it's hard to, people still do the right thing. I'm not saying that in every case, but it sure makes it harder for the good to come through. So to your first question, the reason why it's harder is because when you run a campaign and you're relying on real people, you have to talk to them and do this thing. You got to ask them for money. Like you actually have to convince them, people in your community, that your way of like what you'll do and what you'll change, what you stand for is worth their time and worth their money.
Yeah.
And they're going to invest in you.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. When you're taking $1 from a corporation, you're not investing in them. They're investing in you. Right? It's the other way. They call you.
Right.
They're like, hey, please take the $1. And so it's a huge difference in time, but then think about that difference just in intention. Like it's almost flipped. So now I hope that, but here's the thing. I hope that, if I have the honor of, getting elected when I'm there, now I'm suddenly more free because I'm not tied to any one constituent group. I'm not tied, corporate group, right? I'm untethered to do the right thing on behalf of the community. Whereas if you go the opposite way, you enter and you're already tied up. You're already locked up. And then it only gets worse the longer you're in DC. I think that this can be a winning message for Democrats that could power someone all the way to the presidency. That right now in America, really, I think for the first time, it used to be a political thing to understand it, but now everyone gets it, that there's money in politics, and it's corporate money in politics. And if you could run on a platform of rejecting that, which to be clear, only 8 congressionals have publicly stated that, no corporate money, no special interest money, only 8. If you could do that, that could power someone it's just such a national message. And there's enough people in this country that can get behind that. I mean, look at folks like Bernie Sanders. He has no issue raising money. He has it all from individuals, right? Small dollars across the country, right? So whether you agree or disagree, he clearly has people who believe in him. So I think that it's the hard path, but I think nowadays it may be the path that can be rewarded if people understand it, and they're starting to understand.
All right. So, in your eyes, what's the greatest mistake that our generation can't afford to repeat?
Not listening to young people. I think if you look at the history of progress, you usually could look like 10, 20 years prior and be like, oh, wait, there was a bunch of those crazy kids who were saying this, and we all thought they were, didn't live in the real world, or like, weren't seeing things appropriately, didn't understand reality. But in fact, they're almost always on the right side of history. So listen to your kids, listen to what people are saying, not just on college campuses, but in high schools, and listen to what people are saying online. And that's probably the future we should live in one day. Yeah. Like they see truth way better than we do. Yeah. I mean, we're not that old, but but
I know what you're saying.
But right. And like, don't dismiss youth out of hand ever. Yeah. Ever. And I think we do that all the time. Their focus is
not as tainted as it becomes.
They
live by life and different,
and they're, I mean, not every kid, but like often you're just kind of unhindered, unburdened, and you see things truthfully. And I mean, look at what young people in our country are saying today, and listen to it real hard, because it's probably pretty close to the truth.
Okay. That's a good answer. So, politics today feels more performance than policy. How do you plan to stay authentic in a system that rewards theatrics over truth?
Whew. Can we have theatrics and truth? I like the truth is so powerful that it deserves some theater.
I think sometimes like there's theatrics, but then there's no truth in it, right? So like
performative politics, right? Yeah. I mean, I hate to what's going on right now, right? We're about to lose SNAP benefits, which is food stamps. They're about to expire. And when I see the news, I'm like, man, it's just a game. They're treating it like a game for their own political purposes, for their own political power. And then real people are like, hey, like, can we just have food on the table?
Yeah.
So I think the good thing is right now you're seeing the most authentic voices break through in politics, right? Like when you look at our side, the Democratic Party, our strongest voices are the most authentic. And they're the people who can come and do this and hang out on a podcast for 2, 3, 4 hours and feel comfortable saying what they believe and why, and kind of putting it all on the table. So if those become the loud, I want those to be the theatrical voices, so let's give those people the energy they the kind of the boost they deserve. But I think that's what I'd say is, listen to those who listen to the messengers that feel like they're really speaking from the heart and speaking to you, and are telling you something that feels refreshing, but also honest.
Okay. So you were kind of on the topic of the theatrics, but in power, do you think in your perspective of leadership, should leadership reflect the people or should it shape them?
These are one time, and it's like, what's your answer?
That's a good one.
Go. Yeah.
And think, and let me give you a second to think about that, because you come from a business world.
Yeah.
And so when you're coming in, you're more there to shape, to grow. Like, hey, I'm assuming that. You can tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. But as a politician, the people are choosing you.
Yep.
And so I think oftentimes what happens is that the people feel like we chose you, but you then come in and kind of tell us what to do more so than what we sent you there to do.
That's a wonderful distinction. Like in a business, you're kind of creating something on behalf of yourself or your team or your idea for an eventual consumer, but you're building it versus almost being honored to represent it. It's different, right?
Right.
So, and I think that point is the distinction. Like the best leaders are incredible listeners, incredible at listening, right? And you listen and you take in what people are really feeling, and then you process it through your own moral compass, your own sense of the world. And then it comes back out of your mouth. And maybe that's the answer. Is it's sort of a two-way street, but the first step is definitely listening. And that would say that you're kind of created from, you're sort of, it's bottoms up. And I would argue that maybe to be self-critical of our party, because of the way we've elected national leaders recently or appointed national leaders, there hasn't been that natural democratic process where people could emerge from the grassroots and really listen. And then the output would be the politician.
Yeah.
Who's saying what everyone believes or wants to believe, but in their own words, through their own mouth, with like in their own heart. But it's all come from actual real people versus being like, oh, I was picked to do this job. Now let me ask the consultants what I should say to talk to the people so they agree with me.
Right.
That's different than listening first.
Right.
Right. And then kind of emerging. And I think we haven't had that emergent process in a while.
Yeah. And I think that, and this is I'm being objective when I say this. I think that's what kind of happened in the last election where people didn't feel that the due process happened with Kamala. It was kind of like, you just put her there. We didn't choose her. And then we were forced to choose because it was like, well, it wasn't who we were voting for, it was who we were voting against.
Yep.
And so I think the everyday person who gets up and goes to the poll wants to feel as though they've made the choice through the democratic process. And so I think that's really important.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So, we had a couple, we're talking, you're running for, 4th district. So let's bring it in a little bit more closer to our local politics here, right? What do you feel like the future of California, but the future of the districts that you will be reigning over, in Napa Valley being one of them, right? What do you see for this new future? Because, you're coming in, so people like, hey, we have the incumbent here, like, he's doing his thing. People probably love him. What are you gonna do? Well, like, what's the future that you see that's gonna create something different for the people than what we already have?
So I want to start by saying that the future looks brighter. And I want to bring, I hope through this process, a little bit of hope back to people, because whether it's both national and California and locally, when I talk to real people, man, I hear a lot of fear. And when I ask people, hey, do you see your personal future looking, darker or brighter? Most people right now say darker. And when I ask parents or grandparents whether they think their kids are going to have the same things that they had and have a brighter future than like a brighter path than they did, they say no more often than yes. So I just want to shine a spotlight on that. We are a country that promises to always move forward. That's what it means to be American. Like, you always look to the future, and there's this inherent promise that you're going to create a better future to give that to your community or your kids, right? And I think that maybe we haven't been focused enough there and fighting for that. So look, my campaign is all about shining a spotlight and saying all of our politics need to be about the American dream. And that's about helping working families in America and kids have an opportunity to create a better life for themselves or their families. And then they pass it on to their kids.
Yeah.
And so, when I'm running on universal childcare or universal in-home care for seniors, which is a big one, right? Having a nurse in your home, or free prescription generic drugs, or reforming the insurance industry so that you're not getting denied claims by AI fraudulently. That's what happens. Like, they're denying your claims because they can, right? Like these are really critical for families and young families and the future of our country, right? I mean, it also helps seniors, to be clear, as well. But often it's the families who are taking care of their parents. So it's kind of everyone. It's the community. And then similarly, my other core policy idea is we're going to close corporate loopholes. We're going to raise taxes on corporations, large corporations, and we're going to give every California family $10,000 back. That's, I'm someone who, I want to keep this simple. If three things, don't take corporate money, raise taxes on corporations and give that back to working families, and provide key elements of healthcare and childcare that are really going to be game changing for families who are trying to make it. And I think those three things, they're not, funnily enough, being talked about in the Democratic Party nearly enough. And we're talking about a lot of other things, but we're also talking a lot about Trump. And I get it. I get why we should talk about him. But let's not also lose focus on all the things that we have to deliver as well.
I think that that's very important. I think that a lot of politicians are getting lost in the fight against Trump and the regime that he has, instead of focusing on like the power that they have to change things, listening to the voices of your local politician, right? And I want to make sure that I make it clear that I might have my own political beliefs, but I'm not here to drive one narrative over the other. I'm here to let people's perspective and voices be heard, and let the people choose what they want. So, but I do notice that it's become more on the defense than they are on the offense. And sometimes that happens, you know what I mean? In sports, in life, everything. Right. But I think when you're on the offense, you're making better decisions than when you're on the defense. Right.
Yeah.
And even if you mess up on offense, it's still not as bad as when you miss a tackle or miss a call, miss a actual,
100%. I mean, it's funny. You can take the sports metaphor pretty far.
Yeah,
Did you play football?
Yeah, I with my friends. I didn't play professionally.
Professionally.
I'm basketball. I ran track.
I played football probably a little too much. But I'm
a Monday morning quarterback.
There you go. I eat wings at night. But you design your game plan first, right? Like that's every football season. The coach comes. You are drilling and doing the totally mundane calls over and over and over again. And then weekly, you do adapt to the reality on the field. You react to your opponents. But that's like a minor adaptation.
Right.
You're not like, Steve Kerr doesn't come in and say, like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then he's making adjustments.
Right.
So we got to create a team where we are proud to put on our jersey again. It's proud to wear the color blue nationally, right? And locally. Proud that we have a strategy that we all believe in, that we're executing on. And then we got to adapt and play and win, right? But we're sort of only doing the third piece. And that works, I think, in the short term, to your point. But then over time, people start to ask, okay, but what do we stand for? And that's been hard lately.
Yeah. I've noticed that there was a guy, and I forgot his name. I saw it earlier, actually, today in San Francisco. He's running against Pelosi seat.
Yeah, Scott Wiener.
Yeah. So I see it. I think what I'm watching is the new blood is trying to come in now. And so what do you think about this happening? I mean, oftentimes, I guess it kind of goes back to my original thing when I said being into politics more locally.
Yeah.
Because I never paid attention much, so I don't even know if somebody was running against, him the last time, Thompson or Pelosi last time, because these are juggernauts, right? These are juggernauts in their field of politics. But I do see there's like a wave of, politicians coming in, trying to come into Washington now. Even in San Francisco with the winning of Lori, winning San Francisco, and it seems like he's doing a great job with the work that he's doing. So what do you think about that? Like just with the young blood trying to come in, and what do you say to the people? Hey, we're looking at you. Why go to the new? Why switch to the new coach?
Totally. I think you asked the question. Like again, we have great local leaders, but then Congress is about governing from DC. It's a federal position in Washington DC. So you got to ask yourself: are you happy with the politics in DC? Right? And are you happy how your elected is driving political change nationally that reflects down locally? And if that's working for you, if you're like, thumbs up, it's going great, then you should definitely, unquestionably stick with the players in the field that you got. I think that, honestly, it's just gotten so bad. I mean, the Democratic Party in Congress is polling at an all-time low. It's like 11% approval, right? So there's a recognition nationally that it's not working. And I think now what you finally have is that combined with an actor, Donald Trump, who's so evil that he's realizing, man, we can't just let this thing that's not working continue to stay in place. We have to respond to this threat as well. And that's why you see young people all across California. You know, you're seeing it north of here. Doris Matsui has a challenger, Mai, who has an incredible story, right? You're seeing it down in Southern California in a few races. You're seeing it in San Francisco. Like, this is not an abnormal thing. It used to be, because I think people really did respect, there's, experience has value, but if it's not working, you have to try something new. And the urgency now, I mean, that's why I'm doing it. It's urgent. Like, Trump creates an urgency that you have to respond to. We can't just wait another 2 years to figure it out. And that's why you're seeing these really qualified candidates say, hey guys, like, enough's enough. And I'm not satisfied with your response to the problem that is Donald Trump. Okay. We need new tactics and we need new players in the field.
All right. Well, let's lighten it up a little bit. Thank you for those answers, man. You're a wine drinker.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how deep are you? Are you just like are you a casual drinker? Do you have a cellar? Do you have a wine fridge? Are you a member?
Yeah, I'm a fridge guy.
Okay. Are you and your wife members anywhere?
Yeah, we are. We are.
Okay. You don't have to say who.
No. Yeah. I will say, like, we love, like, we really try to support local family wineries. And it's really important. And then wineries that allow kids and dogs. Those are our two avenues: kids and dogs, and family owned.
So then my question is, it's here. It says, if your life were a vintage, what year would it be and why?
Vintages are definitely beyond my knowledge.
Your scope? Okay.
But no. But I'll answer the question though, because
okay, well, maybe
no. I got one.
Is it a Pinot? Is it a cab?
It's Napa, so it's got to be a cab. Got to be a cab. And I'll say,
you better not have said Bordeaux. They'd have kicked you.
2020, right? Because that was it was COVID, and we had fires, right? So it was a rough year. But those who made it through look great.
Okay.
And I think that we still got to find out just how good those wines are.
Yeah.
But many years from now, we're still getting better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
we just hit the 5-year mark for the 2020.
Yeah. It strengthens the soul. Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to, I'm calling it now that vintage, you gotta wait 20 years. But 20 years, it's going to be the best.
So you're the out of the ashes vintage. Okay. I like that. I like that. All right. So when your campaign is over, win or lose, what do you hope people say about how you showed up? Not only in your campaign, but for the people, the ideas, and of that nature.
Despite the negativity, I think that there is so much opportunity for unity in America right now, which is not something that you hear very often. Social media, etc. But American people, we do have shared values, and when with all the things that are going on, when I talk to real people, that is so pronounced. And I hope that I can be someone that recognizes that that's what our politics should be about, those shared values that we all believe in, and bringing those together and unifying people around that, right? And let's fix healthcare. Let's fix public education. Let's make life a little bit easier for working families and young kids and small businesses so that the American dream becomes more and more open to more people, right? That's what I'm going to talk about. But I hope in that message is unifying. So I hope people look back and they say, oh, wow, I became closer to someone else in the process of talking to Eric or through someone I met following Eric's campaign. Or oh, I volunteered and I made all these friends. Or, I just saw the world a little bit differently and I opened my heart up to someone new, or maybe someone with a different point of view that I thought was on the other side because of some of the things he said. That would be incredible. Being a unifying force in a time when there's a lot of people fighting against that, trying to divide us. That would be great.
I want to interject right there off what you just said, because it kind of leads me to, moving to Napa for me, just as a black man coming to the Napa Valley, it just was never, I've said this on multiple episodes. It just never was a thought of mine to come here, to live here. Right. And because I had made a friendship with somebody who's from here. Right. And I started coming out here hanging with this guy and then started seeing and started partaking of all the beauty that the Valley has. And then he opens a business. It was a no brainer to come here. Like, why wouldn't I want to live here? Right. And that was just a very natural friendship. Right. And I feel like, and what it also, it helped led me to see how the community works, how strong the Latino community is here. I mean, they are the backbone of the Valley, and that's under attack. I had a previous, by the time, this comes out, or if it doesn't come out after, there's, a lady and she talks about how she walks around with her passport. Yeah. And so I'm hoping that, California, if it's one of the safest places for, just the minorities, for, just in everyone, really everyone who wants to come and live and just kind of have a life without being attacked or being subjected to, a ideology that doesn't fit in the box, they can come here and live here. Right. And so I think that, as a voter, especially as a black voter, sometimes we feel as a community in California that sometimes we're even overlooked by our own party. Yeah. Even though we overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Yep. And I think that in this last election, I believe your party saw that with the tip of people who didn't vote, because they were like, we've been casting our vote for this generationally. My grandmother did it, since LBJ, we've blindly given it. And so, I have no question for that. I'm just telling you that. And I just want you to be aware of that and know that, because they did it in hopes that something would change, and they clearly saw fast that it didn't go their way, right? Yeah. But, as a politician, when you enter into these places and spaces, and how you're saying people are connecting, I'm saying all that to say I've shooken hands with people. I've made friendship with people. The majority of friendships that I made, people don't look like me. And I met a friend, and she was officiating my wedding. Wow. And awesome. She's from Napa, right? A lady, and where we would have never crossed paths have I not been out here, right? But the point is, most people just want to live like they're really not tripping on all the stuff that is being presented to us every day on the news. They just want to go work, build businesses, be able to provide for their families, safe homes and environments. And we know that those are the basics, but I just want to let you know that just from my vantage point, that I had to say that. Right. I had to say that for maybe a community of people who don't have a media, who can't say that as up in front and close to someone who can potentially be having a seat, making decisions on our behalf. So I just want to say, is there anything that you want to leave the people before we wrap it up here?
No, but I I do want to ask you a question, but I want to respond to what you just said, because we can never take people for granted. You can't take people for granted. Mm-hmm. And I think the Democratic Party, for a while, because our base is people of color, mm-hmm. and the working class and young people, mm-hmm. we took those groups for granted. And look, we lost the working class. Mm-hmm. And now we've started to lose people of color and young people because of the same reason, because we took them for granted. Mm-hmm. And that has to change. That has to change. Because it's, A, we're not going to win. And B, if we want authentic politics again that speak to real people, that's the base of our party. That's what we have to learn from. That's what we have to listen to. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you said that, because I think people feel that way. Mm-hmm. And that's what every politician should be asking themselves if you're in office. Like, how do I get closer to my constituents and actually start listening again? Mm-hmm. But for you, what's for this podcast and for your barbershop, what are your goals and what's the way you want to have impact?
For my barbershop, I mean, I just want to be able to, go to work every day and provide for, my family, yep. Give people the best haircut they can get. I want to be, as far as the barbershop is concerned, I want to be a part of the community that people point to and say, hey, go over there.
Yeah.
You're going to get a good haircut, but those are good people. You know, we got good music. We got whiskey, we got wine. We have an eclectic conversation. You know, we can meet you on range. It doesn't have to be stuck in, cause you're an old person. We don't have to talk about, old stuff, just cause you're young, it doesn't have to be young, so I want to learn from the older and I want to give wisdom to the younger, and in between we could talk about marriage. We could talk about sports. We can, and so I want it to be a good place that people come. We have people come all the time. It's like, man, I didn't even need a haircut. I just want to come here, have a beer, and because they shoot the breeze, and so I just want to be a good space, and I want to add value to the community. That's the main goal for the barbershop. And for the podcast, I don't look at what I'm doing as a podcast. I look at it as a media company. I want to be able to, one of the things that you were talking about that I feel like is the same, like taking the no pack money, right? I feel the same way with news. Like, you have your big conglomerates, and if I turn on this channel, I'm only getting news from that perspective.
Yep.
And any perspective that doesn't fit that agenda, they're gonna chop and shoot it and stat. I want a Republican person running for the seat to sit in my chair and have an honest conversation. I think people need that. They need to see people and say, when I'm not attacking you and I'm not trying to kill every idea you have, like, who are you, right? We talked about it earlier. You're not on the defense, you're on the offense. You were able to come here, sit down, and be on the offense. That's what I want. I want anybody who wants to come and sit down here to be on the offense, but not just a political. I just want to be media. I want to tell stories. I want to highlight things that are dear to me. I want to highlight things that are dear to others. I want to tell beautiful stories. I don't want to stop at podcasts. I want to make short stories. I want to make, eventually, my ultimate dream was to be a director from Spike Lee. When I was a kid, I saw a Spike Lee movie that I was like, I want to do that, right? And so I want to take this thing to higher heights beyond, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So I have a vision way bigger than just sitting down with guests. But this is the main thing. This is the main thing. So I hope that this feeds all the other dreams and ambitions and goals. And I've learned so much about nonprofits, community partners through this podcast that I would have never known. And so it informs, it teaches, you know what I mean? It entertains. I want to be able to do all those things through the podcast.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You have I think you have a good skill of seeing in someone's heart. So and then making them open up their heart. So
thank you.
I appreciate that. Stories we're built on stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you tell them, they just resonate and they can become part of someone else in a way that you may not have expected. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important what you're doing.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Eric
Likewise.
Jones, running for your Congress seat, 4th District. Get informed, find out who your candidates are, and do not skip the voting booth. When do we vote? When is the election for you? When is
November? June is the primary.
June is next upcoming June.
Yeah,
is the
upcoming
primary,
June, and then November is
and
the
then
election.
next November.
Yep.
So you have a very long run ahead of you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm glad.
Slow and steady.
Yeah, slow and steady.
Or fast and steady. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came to sit down and grace the stage. And we just you're the first, I would say, politician that I've talked to. So hope you're not the last. And once again, thank you.
Thank you.
And success and blessings to you and your family and your wife. And when I run into you guys, I'm gonna have a conversation about that. Her moving from New York to California. I think that's a good story. So we'll see you guys on the next episode of Meet Me in Napa.